So I would like to talk a little about removing lack and limitation during this next segment. And with that, let me just start off with acknowledging or asking you, what do you consider lack and limitation? Are you in lack literally, or are you in lack mentally? Are you in lack emotionally? Are you in lack spiritually? Are you limited physically, mentally, or spiritually? What do you consider lack and limitation? So many of us think that it's a general term when in reality this is a very individual definition. For me, I mean, there are things that I would love to be able to do technologically for the GIC and for this radio show and for this radio station, but I just don't have the prosperity, let's say, or the monetary means to do such things that I would like to do to help everybody. So that would be my definition of lack. Is boy, I would love to have that $25,000 check to to help with the technology of the show, of the station, of the GIC, et cetera, et cetera. What would be your lack? What would be your limitation? Many people feel it's something as silly as not having that, I don't know, Gucci purse, or not having the car that they want, or not having the hairstyle they want, or so I think I'm making my point here. This is a very personal idea of what lack and limitation might be. So as we identify what is lack and what is limitation, we need to begin to ask ourselves what is necessary. Removing lack and limitation is a means by which we first begin to identify. How do we identify? We identify by feeling within us and acknowledging what is going on without us. And what I mean by what is going on without us is when you see something that you wish that you had, that would be something that you might feel a lack for. Once you've done this, what I'd like you to do is I need to ask you is if it is necessary. What is necessary? I'm very lucky because about 2 or 3 years ago, when I was developing not only this particular radio show, but developing the GIC, I was literally homeless. I was literally living on friends' couches, and to this day, I still live in poverty. But you want to know something? Somebody said something to me that made it put it all into perspective. And putting it all into perspective were these terms, and I thank my friend Sine, you know who you are. Sine said to me, may you always have what you need. May you always have what you need. So when you begin to create the contrast of that which we want versus that which we need, we begin to see a difference in, are we living in lack? Are we living in limitation? Am I free to do the things I want to do every day? And I've got to say this because this does go along with the whole activist aspect. One of the reasons why I stopped listening to Alex Jones, I'm not picking on him. It's just he's the most popular person, so I'm just going to bring him up. One of the reasons why I stopped is because every other month there was a story about how you can expect the tanks to roll down your street any day now. You're not going to be happy when you see the tanks rolling down your street. And this was back in 2008, 2009. So I was waiting for tanks to roll down my street for years. And finally I realized there are no tanks rolling down my street. Now, I'm not saying there's not tanks rolling down people's street. I'm not saying there's not war out there. I'm not saying that there's not uprisings in little cities that are being met with, militant means. I saw even the Roanoke police here have a little tank-type looking thing now. And now they put it in the parade, and we march next to it, which is really strange, being a former occupier. But the tanks weren't down my street. And here I was thinking every day the tanks are coming down my street. Here I was thinking every day the bank was going to be closed and I'd lose everything I had. Here I was living every day thinking I would lose everything any minute, any minute, any minute, any minute. Can you imagine what kind of life that was? I'm sure many of you can. I'm sure many of you listening to this radio station, listening to this broadcast, can think of what it's like to constantly live in fear that a tank is going to roll down your street any second. Did it roll down today? No. Good. Did it roll down yesterday? No. Good. Will it roll down tomorrow? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Is this the kind of life that we want to live? Is this living in full potential? I'm not saying, again, I am one to prepare. You want to call me a prepper? I agree with prepping. You know, have those bags of rice, have that water, have everything you need in case something, the grid were to go down for a couple of weeks. I agree with that completely. That's just common sense in today's day and age. Grow your own vegetables, grow your own food, kill your own cows, learn how to hunt. I'm all for that. I agree completely. Let's not rely on the mega corporations to sustain us in times of trouble. I agree. Let's not rely on the government to sustain us in times of trouble. But do we want to live in that consciousness of any minute it's going to happen? Any minute. Any minute the tanks are going to roll down the street. Any minute a solar flare is going to knock out the grid. Any minute the shit's going to hit the fan. Excuse my language. That's living in lack. That's living in limitation. Living to our full potential is listening to our inner guidance system and finding that special place for you to live where you have everything you need. Not everything you want, everything you need. We remove lack, we remove limitation when we are living in alignment with our higher self and the needs of our higher self. If we are craving a certain comfort, go for it. If we are craving a certain way of living, go for it. As long as you're harming no one, there is no reason why you cannot live without lack and limitation. Lack and limitation is not lack of money. Limitation is not lack of freedom. Limitation is not living in the freedom to be who you are in a day-to-day. So going back to the beginning of this conversation, let me say, here I am. I'm living in downtown Roanoke. I have a lovely view of the mountains. There are no tanks on my street. I can go to the grocery store if I want to. I have a beautiful view around me. My freedom is not suppressed. I can be free to be who I am. I can be free to broadcast this radio show. I'm free to have my weekly meetings. I'm free to go to the co-op. I'm free to go to the farmer's market. What a lovely life. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've got to say something. I saw something about what we call the purple pill. Somebody said, purple pill consciousness, purple pill truther. Whether you like it or not, unless you're living in a Earthship, unless you are living completely off the grid, you're purple pill. Unless you are not taking anything from a corporation, if you are not buying anything, unless you're growing all your food, generating all your electricity, and are completely 100% self-sustainable, you are purple pill. So let's remove lack and limitation. Let us not force ourselves to live in poverty. Let us not force ourselves to live in emotional poverty, spiritual poverty. Prosperity is all around us, whether we like it or not. It is just our choice of how we do it. Now, would I take money from Walmart to advertise on the show or advertise on the website? Of course not. But of course, I'm going to work with people that are in alignment with the work that I'm doing. Is removing lack and limitation meaning I'm going to give up poverty and become this huge capitalistic jerk? No, of course not. Finding that center where you are harming no one, yet all of your needs are met. Living in need. We talk about creating a new paradigm all the time. We talk about creating this new way of living, and that new way of living does not mean living like a caveman. This new paradigm that I speak of, my new paradigm, involves wonderful technology. wonderful comforts, wonderful views, wonderful smells, wonderful people, beautiful fashion. But it doesn't mean living in rags in a cave. I did that. I did that. I went through that stage. I'm spiritual. I cannot have this. I am spiritual. I cannot wear this. I am spiritual. I cannot eat that. I am spiritual. I can't. I can't. I can't. Removing lack and limitation brings us to that place where we can. And no, I'm not quoting, oh, bummer. I can. I can. You can. Living in that mindset of I can, I can, I can. It's possible. Anything is possible. It doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter what education I have. It doesn't matter who I know. It doesn't matter where I live, actually. Removing lack and limitation is a mindset. I live, personally, in poverty. Okay? According to the United States statistics, Bernard Alvarez lives below the poverty level. But you know what? I'm clean. My home is clean. I have a fashionable home. I wear fashionable clothes. I have a lovely computer. I have complete... I don't look like I live in poverty. There's no reason to. Poverty is a mindset. If I can live off less than $10,000 a year and feel like I'm living in an upper middle class neighborhood. Actually, I do live in an upper middle class neighborhood. I'm lucky to rent a room in an upper middle class neighborhood. But the reality of it is, it's all about your mindset. You can remove lack and limitation. There is no other thing stopping you than a choice. It is a choice to live in poverty or live in the poverty mindset. It is a choice to live in a world where tanks are going to invade your streets any day now. It is a choice to feel that you're going to lose everything tomorrow. It is a choice to live in not enough. It's a choice. I choose to live in a world where I have enough. I have enough. I have enough. And so do you. As soon as you make that inner choice and say, I have enough. Not I've had enough. We've all had enough, but that's a whole nother situation, a whole nother story. And speaking of stories, let's move on and talk a little bit about our stories. So I'm sure I must have said at least one or two things that have offended one or two of you throughout this particular broadcast. And I've got to ask you why. When you are offended, when I'm offended, I mean, I'm the owner of a Facebook page with over 300,000 followers, and I won't even look at the comments anymore. I can't, because I get offended. Why do I get offended? So every once in a while, I will do that. I will scan the comments and see what people are saying and see what the trolls have to say and see what the government shills have to say and see what the naysayers and the haters have to say. And lately I've been noticing that takes me back to being, I don't know, a geek in high school or elementary school or whatever, and what the kids thought of me. I started realizing that I'm offended because I was offended by this before. So when you're offended, what part of the story is that coming from? You have a story. I have a story. We all have a story. That story might be growing up in the slums. That story might be growing up in an upper middle class neighborhood. That story might be being a chubby little kid, a skinny little kid, a gay little lesbian girl, a gay little gay boy, whatever it might be, where somebody did not agree with your existence and somehow you were offended because they were offended, and they went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There is a story. We all have a personal story. My mother didn't love me enough. My father molested me. My brother beat me up. My sister was a bully. My teacher hit me with a ruler. The nuns hit me with a ruler, whatever it is. We all have a story. So we have to ask ourselves, how much of this story is holding us back from our full human potential? If we continue to identify with our story, most likely that story is you being told you're not good enough. Most likely that story is someone else telling you that you're not smart enough, pretty enough, strong enough, wise enough, and you're believing it. I'm going to tell you a part of my story. I have a very interesting story, and this is actually from somebody that I respect very much, which actually is what made it so difficult. This is someone who I look up to. It was a boss. I guess a boss, an owner of one of the businesses I worked at. This was probably back in 1998. It was before, I was going to say 7/11, 9/11. Probably 98, 99. I'm living in Hollywood, Florida, just north of Miami, Florida. I'm working in a very wealthy area, working for a very wealth-oriented business, making crappy money in a wealthy area, which was very aggravating to me. But I remember there was this one instance where I guess I was pulled aside by the boss, and the boss pulls me outside. And this is, again, somebody who I really respected, someone who I related to, someone who I wanted to learn from. And I will say, as of this day, I did learn a lot from them. But I remember them pulling me aside and bringing me out on the bench out front and telling me, you know what, Bernard? You are a very interesting character. I knew where this was going. You're a very interesting character. I'm like, how's that? Well, we've had some complaints. Really? What kind of complaints? Well, apparently people don't like you being yourself. Excuse me? And what she said to me, these next few words really stuck with me, and have always stuck with me. Bernard, you are just too comfortable with who you are. You are too comfortable with who you are. What? Now, how many of you can relate to something like that? How many of you can relate to somebody said, oh, your fashion is wrong, or this, or you're too expressive, you're too poetic, you're too creative, you're too you. I was told I was too me. You are too comfortable with who you are, like it's a bad thing. And these are the types of things that we have all been told throughout our life. These are the types of things that not only me, that you, in one way or another, have been told throughout your life. Whether it be told by your teachers, your local politicians, the TV, the media, whatever it is, someone has told you something similar to that. And we believed it. I know I did for a second. Let me go on to tell you something even better, because now we're starting to see how things change. Now we're starting to see how things change. Here I am, 2014, March 25th, 2014. Got a book out. I'm in a movie. 300,000 followers on Facebook, 25 million viewers on YouTube. Wonderful show on this fantastic radio station, Revolution Radio. Not even 10 years ago, 2005. Well, maybe 10 years ago. Here I am in Hollywood, Florida, again, working for my last boss. It was the last boss I ever had. Last boss I ever had 10 years ago. You know me. I'm a talker. That's why I do talk radio. I'm a talker. I talk. I say what's on my mind. Nothing. I don't hold back. Now, I know how to be diplomatic. Don't get me wrong. I understand diplomacy. I understand being kind. I understand not being hurtful. What I don't understand is not saying things that are your truth. My last boss says to me, "You are too comfortable with who you are. Your mouth is going to get you in trouble one of these days." This time, I said, "I am very comfortable with who I am. My mouth is going to make me money." Not that it has, don't get me wrong. My mouth will be my career. And sure enough, 10 years later, the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of who we are, a lot of who we think we are, is being given to us. A lot of the limitations, a lot of our story comes from the outside when other people tell us who we are. A lot of our story, and to rewrite that story, we have to take the initiative. We must be comfortable enough to say, this is who I am. And you know what? You're right. I am too comfortable with who I am. Good. And because I am too comfortable with who I am, that is one of my talents. And that is what I'm going to do to change the world. Another one of my favorites. You can't change the world. No. No, I can't. But I can change 25 million viewers. You can't change the world. No, but I can send out good thoughts and make people feel better. You can't change the world. Yes, I can. Yes, I have. Yes, I will. And so will you. You can do anything. Absolutely anything. No matter what people have told you. No matter what your story is. No matter how much. Well, we have a few more minutes, so I guess I'm going to share this. And I've shared this in the past. No matter how much you like to mentally... Oh, how do I say this nicely on public radio? Mentally masturbate? Is that a good way of saying it? I had a psychologist once about 10 years ago that said to me, he goes, I want you to picture a phallic in your hand and putting it in your ear. You're mentally effing yourself. And no matter how much you want to mentally F yourself, you need to know that you can do anything you want, that you are the one that's doing it. You are the one that's creating the limitation. You can rewrite your personal story, and you can rewrite your personal story with you as the hero versus the victim. You can be the person who wins in your personal story and allow yourself to draw energy and strength from that. So many people are going to knock you down. So many people are going to kick you. You don't need to be one of those people. When you rewrite your personal story, it is your personal story. It is you the winner, you the star, you the one who gets everything they need. You're not going to get everything you want. You're going to get everything you need to do the work that you must do in order to be happy, to go to the workplace that you want to go to because it makes you happy, to do the things with the people you want to be with because it makes you happy, to have the people around you, surrounding you, making you happy, fulfilling you, because that's what you want to do. Rewrite your personal story. There is no reason why you cannot be the hero of your own story. And again, I mean, I can take it back to the whole victim mentality. You know, we've been there, done that. We've done the victim. We've all been there. We've all had that moment of poor me, poor me, poor me. I've fallen, I've broken my arm, poor me. I've been a victim of hate crime, poor me. I've been called names on Facebook, poor me. You know, but you know what? I'm still here. I'm still here. The story changes. The story changes. It always changes. In the end, you always will come out on top. You need to know this. You need to know that you have the ability to change your own life, change the life of the people around you, change the life of the people on this planet. Now, of course, let me throw in a little precursor. If you're a psychopath, no, you're going to end up in a mental institution. If you're a psychopath, no, we're going to make sure you don't have any power. The reality of it is that all of us who are living in love and in truth, those of us who are living in the ability to understand what is needed for the best of ourselves, for the best of humanity, and that's not forcing anything. It's allowing it to come to fruition naturally. Align with your natural story. Align with the natural ending. Don't you always come out the other end? You always come out the other side a victor one way or another. We have all been in very, very scary places. We have all done things we're not proud of. We have all done things and are maybe doing things at this point that we're not necessarily thrilled about. But it's not your story. It's not who you are. It's a process. It's a part of your process. Going through upheavals, going through negative chapters of our lives, it's merely a process. Rewrite your story. See yourself as the hero. How many of us have read mythology or have watched mythological stories in a movie or on TV? The hero must always go through upheavals and turmoil, and the hero always wins. You are that hero. You are the hero of your own story. And because of that, and the moment you see yourself as the hero of your story, you have now clicked and locked onto another aspect of living in your full human potential. Living as a hero. Living as a hero for yourself, your life, your family, your community, your planet, your galaxy, your universe. You are living in full human potential when you can rewrite the story with you as the hero.